There are many stories of sibling rivalry in folklore and literature. These stories often convey the complexity of human relationships, including those within the family. The tension that exists between loyalty and jealousy can create intriguing narratives. It also highlights the dangers and the potential for destruction that jealousy brings. The Hebrew Bible contains several narratives of sibling rivalry, including the stories of Esau and Jacob and Rachel and Leah. The first of such stories is found in Genesis chapter 4, verses 1 through 16, where we read of the story of Cain and Abel, the first and second sons of Adam and Eve. Cain, the elder brother, was a tiller of the ground, and he brought an offering to God from the produce he had grown. Abel was a keeper of sheep, and he made an offering to God from his flock. God favorably received Abel's offering, but had no regard for Cain's offering. Jealous and angry that his offering was rejected while his brother's gift was accepted, Cain lures his brother Abel to the field, where he murders him. God declares that Abel's blood is crying out to God from the ground. God also pronounces a curse on Cain, stating that Cain will live the remainder of his life a fugitive and a wanderer. Cain cries out that the punishment is greater than he can bear. He expresses his fear that as he wanders the earth, he may himself be murdered. But God promises Cain that Cain will receive divine protection. In my family history, there is a story of sibling rivalry that, over time, has become part of the local lore of the people in and around the part of the country where I was born and raised, western Missouri, near Kansas City. The story is about two family members, not brothers, but brothers-in-law, who lived in rural Johnson County, Missouri, in the 1800s. One of the men was a farmer by the name of Charles Burden. Charles was a first cousin of my third great-grandfather, Eldridge Burden. Charles had a brother-in-law, Leonidas Hornsby. Leonidas owned a neighboring farm where he raised sheep. Leonidas was becoming increasingly frustrated by local dogs that were killing his sheep, and one day in 1869 he vowed to shoot the first dog that came onto his property. Soon after he made that vow, Charles Burden's favorite hunting dog, Old Drum, went missing. Charles searched his farm and the surrounding area until he found his beloved Old Drum on the banks of a creek. Charles was devastated to find that Old Drum was dead from a gunshot wound. Charles was convinced that his brother-in-law Leonidas had betrayed their family bond and was responsible for the death of Old Drum. Charles vowed that he would find justice for himself and for his faithful dog. Charles Burden sued Leonidas Hornsby for damages. Several court cases and appeals followed. A final trial began on September 21, 1870, in the Old County Courthouse in Warrensburg. Charles Burden was represented by Sedalia attorney George Graham Vest, who later became a United States Senator from Missouri. In his closing remarks to the jury, Vest offered a moving oration that has become known as the Eulogy of the Dog. Vest said, "The one absolutely unselfish friend that a man can have in this selfish world, the one that never deserts him, the one that never proves ungrateful or treacherous, is the dog. Gentlemen of the jury, a man's dog stands by him in prosperity and in poverty, in health and in sickness. He will sleep on the cold ground when the wintry winds blow and the snow drives fiercely, if only he can be by his master's side. He guards the sleep of his pauper master as if he were a prince." The jury was convinced, and Charles Burden won the final court case and was awarded $50. According to family lore, Charles Burden and Leonidas Hornsby eventually reconciled and extended forgiveness to each other. They are buried near one another in a local rural cemetery. Old Drum has been immortalized with statues and monuments throughout the county. Old Drum's story was also dramatized in 2000 when the television network Animal Planet produced and released the film The Trial of Old Drum, starring Ron Perlman as Charles Burden and Scott Bakula as George Graham Vest. The story of Old Drum and the story of Cain and Abel remind us of the complexity of family and human relationships, the tension between loyalty and jealousy, and the demand for justice when innocent life has been destroyed. They also remind us that the restoration of broken relationships is possible.